This Jeep got our new deluxe billet accessory drive bracket set up. Ironically, this is a budget build. It's a 5.3 LMG, which is a great motor actually, on a two-door. Got a stock Silverado hose on the top. This is an iron engine, and I'm going to show you the accessory drive here. It's kind of hard to see with all the stuff in place, but let's look. Let me get a light on this. We're right outside of Nellis Air Force Base, and they're doing red flag, so a lot of noise behind me. So we have our aluminum billet AC bracket down there, our aluminum billet alternator bracket here, and full aluminum billet power steering bracket here. Now, one of the biggest advantages of this setup is that we're putting the JK accessories right back where they were. So we're using the original power steering reservoir, power steering lines, air conditioning lines, alternator hookups. We're even using the original alternator top strap. So you can run all your stock JK accessories. Now, we've been doing this for about 8 years, but we were using steel brackets that were fabricated, and they were just too labor intensive to make, and you had to install them properly and adjust them, otherwise you had belt issues. This is a bolt-on setup with no alignment required. So some of the advantages of this setup are, if you're running the GM drive, see this upper control arm bracket here, and you put your compressor down here, you're going to have a hard time, not a lot of clearance. So if you don't have at least a 3 or 4 inch lift, that compressor could possibly smack the upper control arm bracket. Now you could go to a compact sand-in, which works pretty good if you have a 3 inch lift. You can go to the Dirty Dingo mount with the 7 Series sand-in, and that'll give you more clearance, but it also reduces your cooling capacity. With this setup, there is no air compressor over here. It sets it over here where Jeep originally wanted it. Gives you all the clearance in the world. Same thing on the top. Our power steering pump's right back where it was. Now, a couple of years ago, we actually sunk the power steering pump down 4 inches. And what that did is it allowed us better gravity feed in the PSC setups. So if you get your reservoir over here or up on the firewall, running that pump down low gives it better gravity feed on the hopper setup for the PSCs. So that's another advantage of this stock drive setup, is being able to use the PSC and other aftermarket JK hydraulic systems. And then of course the alternator going right back where it was means you have smart charging. You can plug it right in with the factory connectors, the AC compressor connector, and the AC pressure transducer or pressure sensor all plug right back in where they were. So Gary's going to get it up in the air and we'll take a look at it from underneath. Alright, they're having red flag over at Nellis, and like 5 jets just flew over, so I just got to do this. If you look at where the air compressor is on the GM engines, you can see how much room we have now. No problem at all with upper control arm clearance to the compressor. If you look over here, compressor's tucked up away from the axle housing, right where it should be. And you can see with our billet accessory drive, there is plenty of clearance to the pulley, no alignment required. It's really a nice setup. Now, this is designed for the truck offset, but we are going to offer the the Corvette offset also, if you want to mount your original JK compressor onto like a CTV water pump and harmonic balancer offset. We're running the stock GM stretch belt, and you got to make sure you run a stretch belt, because if you ran a standard belt, it just wouldn't work right. We're also running on this accessory drive the standard GM main drive belt, so it's a commonly available part number. We run the full-size GM hydraulic motor mounts, and we've done that since the beginning. and they don't give you as much clearance as if you had run a pedestal mount or a polyurethane mount, but they do isolate the engine from the chassis much better, and that's why we stick with it. But we got plenty of room here to move this compressor back for the Corvette offset, which basically means this balancer is up against the timing cover. So you can retrofit this billet accessory drive setup to your JK if you have the GM setup and you're having clearance issues. And I forgot to mention, the clearance between the power steering gear and the air compressor, there's plenty. But when you have the GM drive on here with the power steering pump mounted low, it gets awful close. So just everything about this drive works great. It integrates perfectly into the JK. You already have the accessories. You have clearance everywhere. You can bottom out a stock JK with no bump stops, and you're not going to have any clearance issues. So we'll hopefully have this billet accessory drive available separately if you want to upgrade your JK from a GM drive or you're doing a new build.